Oh my gosh, guys. I was talking that whole time. You couldn't hear me, huh? Because I had it muted. That was funny. Okay, let me go over that again. The market, we're seeing a little bit of risk-off sentiment still. Overnight, continued the downturn. This was China saying, "Hey, we got everything under control in Beijing." And here in the morning, as the American sessions start to get underway, a little bit down. Treasuries seeing a little bit more of a bid. Gold at the bottom of its channel. If you just looked at gold, it would look like, it's going to go up. Oil's for some reason not loading for me. Also, my 6J chart is being weird. And I don't have any water. Oh, wait, I do have water. This is just the wrong bottle. Cool. So that's basically where we're at. Silly me. Silly me. Thank you, GJ. Hey, that's actually a new name. Thanks. Well, going into some of the backdrop for today, we do get some numbers here. We get the jobless claims. We also get the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index. We're looking for a reading of negative 23. That's in about 2-3 minutes. I don't know if we're getting news here. Do you see something from First Squawk? There may be no new immunity against COVID-19. New Wuhan study suggests researchers behind the non-peer-reviewed paper ran antibody tests on samples from hospital workers who were exposed to infected patients at early stage of outbreak. Only 4% of 23,000 people had antibodies, but they estimated at least 25% could have contracted the disease. Um, that's interesting. Doesn't that kind of contradict some of these antibody studies, though? Oh, no, maybe not, because the antibody. I can see why maybe but the market's moving up, so they can't be moving the markets. That would be bad. Hey, guess what, guys? The virus will be around forever. Buy everything. Means the Federal Reserve will continue to ease forever, and so we can just buy everything. That's what that means, guys. You would think. Nah, this move up must just be on technicals, or maybe they think that the continuing jobless claims are going to be really good. That's probably a more likely theory. Let's see here. I'm gonna move my chair. To have me a little bit more upright and engaged. Let's do this. Jobless claims. We're looking for a reading of continuing jobless claims 19800. 19,800,000 versus a previous estimate of 20. All right, 20 seconds. I'm just going to try and stop into this if they decide to go that way. Okay, so here's they're coming. Okay, so the continuing jobless claims was bad. 4 weeks claims, no. Initial jobless claims more than expected as well. This is a sell. And the Philadelphia Manufacturing Index, I haven't gotten yet. Oh dear. I just lost the screen. I have to buy a new screen. I should just go buy those two screens that I saw online. Okay, well, it looks like I might not have enough risk here to play this the way that I want. Didn't go quite as far as I wanted. Still waiting for the Philly Fed number. Okay, 27.5 versus an expected 23, so that is better than expected. I think we could see a new low, maybe. Might take a little longer to do that. The Philly Fed index, though, is encouraging.
Kevin Wimmer says unexpected volatility during the news. I mean, considering the numbers.
I think it's about what I would expect. I mean, that was fairly on par for a number like that. I mean, the jobless claims were bad, but they weren't like a disaster. And the Philly Fed index was good. I don't know if a 27.5 is anything to get excited about, though. I think the jobless claims are important because it seems to reinforce a primary bear concern, which is that people aren't going to come off of the payrolls, and that when the jobless when the jobless benefits expire, the economy is in for a real
Kevin Wimmer
doozy.
says really? I mean, the last times we had almost no volatility in volume during the numbers. Like maybe a 1000 volume 1 minute bar, compared to today's 6600.
Oh, I don't know about that. You know what? I feel like that's not true, but probably we would need to go back and look at the individual events, huh? Because our memory on that sort of a thing's probably not going to be very good. I don't know. It was like what, 2 points, 6 points down. Is that really that bad? I don't know. Was it a little bit higher volume than usual? Well, the delta moved down about 400 contracts. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's really that bad. And they're still constrained within the outside bar created by the news. So they maybe it is volatile, but so far they seem to be handling it okay. Let's see if they fall out here like
Kevin
would
Wimmer
like.
says NVM was a bit wrong. Last week about 3000 volume and week before about 1450 volume. Just talking about the first minute of the news.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That seems to fit with what I would think. I mean, I know that when we had jobless claims like what, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was a really volatile, right? I think though because of all of the gamma that we have expiring on Friday, you know, uh, today is a really important day for a lot of big traders, right? I think that you're gonna see quite a bit of uh, odd behavior, I guess. Well, they did move down to the 3080 level, but they didn't really push beyond that. And the volume is kind of turned into not that interested at the moment. Jobless claims came in at 1.5 million, above consensus expectation and only slightly below the prior week. The continuing claims of 20.5 million are above consensus expectations
Kevin
of
Wimmer says the first
19.85
ones,
million.
in March, were super volatile and volume heavy. May was meh, but can be wrong memory.
Based on this side of the firing hiring equation, labor market improvement is muted, says Mohammed El Ran. Yeah, so Rand Squawk is saying the markets don't care about the bad data. He says investors more focused on forward year 21 than forward year 20 and a recovery is priced. Stocks are a leading indicator and look forwards. Policymakers have backstopped a downside. Vaccine progress and economies reopening / V-shape. So for that, we just had data. Except for we just had a study that suggests that you're not going to get a. Well, maybe that doesn't mean that you're not going to get a vaccine, does it? What we're seeing right now seems to suggest that they are going to ignore the news and push up. I did try putting a bid out there, didn't I? I didn't get it. Didn't get my prices. Unfortunate. Worth noting that we do have some risks equities will care about. Are we getting more stimulus before unemployment benefits expire at the end of July? Probably not, but they may extend. They may still extend the unemployment benefits. Election / tax policy, yeah. Is Sharon R2 still in the office? I also think that gamma matters. I think that it'll put them kind of wanting to stick around where they're at. My head is still bad. Well, I think I'm going to try closing that workspace. Because I want to see the currencies moving. Yeah, Ninjatrader's crashed on something. Oh, Ninja. Poor thing. So is that going to kill my workspace? Documents, Ninjatrader 8 workspaces. Well, it's still there. Let's see if it deletes it when it starts up. I don't know who Shehan is. some trader guy. That's a little better. So now I can see the 6J is moving up just a little bit. Gold going down, dollar increasing. Saudi Arabia reports 4,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. Wow, Saudi Arabia is still seeing lots of cases? Atlanta Police Department stage walkout while mayor asks them to quote unquote keep their commitment. Really? That's your comeback. You made a commitment. I don't think that they're gonna care. Biden got failing grades and polls on his clueless handling of the swine flu H1N1. It was a total disaster. They had no idea what they were doing. Among the worst ever, says Donald Trump. Well, it does look like it turned back down a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure where the sentiment for the session is going to go. Just, I think that if anything could move us down, it would be news like that, and they didn't, which kind of makes me think that they are going to push up. No, I think I missed my chance to get. Oh, maybe not. Cool. Thank you, sir. Hard to understand why people are so blind to the difference between necessary and sufficient. Says Nassim Nicholas. I wonder what he's going on about. Donald Trump is on the twit, tweeting about a book called Trump Will Smash the Left and Win by David Horowitz. Okay, they gonna bust the high from just before the news? 3091.50? Yes, sir. Stops galore, too. Well, we're coming up on a pretty big gulf here around 93. You can see that off of that initial break, there was some stops up there, but they shied away from actually hitting 93. Once you start hitting into 93, then you've got a ton of pivots that they can push through, and then probably we can get back up into 3100. Okay. Also note that on that stop run, there was way more stops in the yes, in the micros. Ooh, yeah. Well, treasuries have fallen a little bit. They seem to be reasonably stable, though. A little bit of an, well, a little bit, quite a bit of an offer on them, though. Yeah, my ZB chart is screwed up. There we go. Trump to Hannity on Atlanta shooting. You can't resist a police officer. Adds police have not been treated fairly. And Donald Trump tweeting, Seattle's chop is the latest example of liberal Democrat cities caving to lawlessness. Meh. Okay. New senior GOP lawmakers in administration and Congress are trying to sideline Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, who has agreed with Democrats to $1,200 checks and a big UI increase. Wait, what is unemployment increase? Conservatives pushing for VP Pence or Cos Meadows to have a bigger role in phase 4. So here again, I think that they might be able to do another round of stimulus, but I am very skeptical that they will be able to do a whole lot other than extend the unemployment benefits. They have to extend the unemployment benefits because if they don't, then the market is facing like an Armageddon when everything flips. Okay, so they left a little bit of liquidity up there at 30.93. Noticing now, it's not huge, but yeah, 144. Almost all of the sizes trying to take it long though. On the latest economic data out of China, according to Bloomberg, the numbers highlight the country's reliance on industry amid sluggish consumer demand and underlies the fragility of the recovery as further infections appear. Well, I think I should hold this trade, but I'm starting to see a couple of things about it that I don't like.
Bob the Builder says today I took nice down wave in pre-trading.
Oh, you did? You took that downside? So I'm a little concerned about. Like, I think that the upside is the right direction, and I can see where it wants to get to, but I can also see the spot where it's going to be hard to get through, and I don't really have enough. You know, what is the word? I would prefer that I would be able to get like 4 points before I hit that spot. You know what I mean? Instead of 2 points, and I hit that spot. So you can see right there, pretty decent down candle.
Bob the Builder says in 3.110 and out approximately 3.09.
Wait, is that in the? You're talking about? You must be talking about a different instrument. Donald Trump is just tweeting like
Bob
a
the Builder
madman.
says I can wait but can't slightly smiling face.
It's a terrible situation, and I blame the leaders of those cities. The President of the United States has fought through a lot of different things since he's been in office, and to be honest with you, he's done one hell of a job, says Herschel Walker. Okay. I haven't seen a really juicy market moving Donald Trump tweet in a while. I shouldn't be saying that. I don't want to jinx everything. Because you know that's exactly when he's going to really say something crazy. Well, the Treasuries, they're sitting there on the edge at 25. There's a little bit of built-in liquidity there. So this is definitely where the bid is at. Fed's Kaplan says systemic racism is all of our problem. Addressing it would improve economic performance. Okay. Hmm. Well, the downside continues to come through here. I'm looking over here in the 10 years to see if they're going to take 25 there. If you have hit into it, the offer is getting stronger. Oof. So I don't like it when it comes back and there's all these prices that didn't trade in the micros. You see all that?
Bob the Builder says M30, M15 say up but H1 not necessarily.
What are you talking about? What is M30? Well, for the time being,
Bob the Builder says 15 minutes frame.
oh, I see. Yeah, we're still like if you look at the top of the hour, we were at 3089.50. That one's kind of hard to really read too much into because it was with where the news was and everything. But I'm getting a little bit of a down candle here. So I think that a couple of people puked there. You can still kind of see it fighting though. I'm not seeing any big orders coming through at all. Senator Damelaires, we need real leadership in the White House, and Joe Biden will do that. Okay, Cam. Remember when you almost destroyed his career in the primaries? Good times, good times. Well, it looks like they are having a hard time establishing any kind of trend today. So far. I think that today will be a difficult day, though, either way, because of all this gamma that's expiring and everything. Yeah, we're probably going to see some crazy moves. Well, we'll see if they get past the news price on this downturn or not. House Majority Whip James Kleinberg says he believes we are on course to getting a policing bill done. Euro USD is still seeing a little bit of weakness. Treasuries bidding back up. They did not go past that 25. Nickel plunges after Bloomberg reports its founder exaggerated capability of debut truck. Well, we can say that the sellers were still there at 93. Biden launches first general election ads targeting states Trump won in 2016. That seems early. If we do go to the downside, I could see 3076. Here again, we're kind of in this spot where I don't know if the risk to get there is actually worth it. Okay. That was interesting. Well, I don't think that I want to be in now. Or well, we're like almost exactly in the middle. slightly down right there. Donald Trump tweets Bolton's book, which is getting terrible reviews, is a compilation of lies and made up stories, all intended to make me look bad. Many of the ridiculous statements he attributes to me were never made, pure fiction. Just trying to get even for firing him like the sick puppy he is. I find this one interesting because if Bolton really had all of those things to say, why would he not say them on the stand? Why would he wait for a book? You know what I mean? I think that some of the stuff that he said would have made a difference at trial. Maybe it wouldn't have changed the outcome, but why would he refuse to testify? Makes you wonder. And based on that alone, I don't think that I, we can say we can trust what he wrote. I'm just in interest that you have to say, oh, it's interesting allegations, and maybe somebody can confirm it. I guess there was one guy confirmed one thing. He said that the whole thing about oh, I don't even remember anymore. One speechwriter said, "Oh yeah, that happened," but then you look at it and it's like, well, they could still be like exaggerating it or presenting it in a way that's not fair. I mean, FX macro, your game is pretty weak today, but I think you need to up your Adderall. These people. A lot of conservatives picking up on this Google demonetizing the Federalist and Zero Hedge. Well, that last blue candle looks really strong. And Nicola Fandler threatens to sue Bloomberg after report of company peddling a hollowed out truck. This is the stocks that are getting the attention right now. It's just so silly, I think. I think that maybe some hedge funds are creating a bunch of interest in some stocks to distract people
Vincenzo
from where
C
it
says
really should
thumbs
be.
up, hit that like button for the Sethanator.
Oh, thank you, Vincenzo. We should hit the like button. We've been slacking on the likes lately. Okay, so they did take it. It's only been like 6 minutes, but I do think that this move here is an okay trade, so we'll see. That's why I doubled up on it. And then if I get like, let's say here,
Vincenzo C says Sethanator.
wow, how did you get her to say it like that? That's great. Well, as soon as I am convinced in, they try to turn down. Okay. I'd say today is a much more of a two-way market than it has been. Wouldn't you say? Poland's president says cooperation on nuclear energy will be part of next week's talks with U.S. President Donald Trump.
Michael Muse says you need to spend some time explaining your windows for the newbies, when you have time.
Sure. So basically everything that you see here is bullshit except for... No, it's not. They're actually all have little uses, but the thing that's important is right here. It's where you want your eyes to be. And this window here is S&P 500 futures. This is, see, each one of these windows is a different instrument. So ES, this is the 30-year, the 10-year, 5-year. This is micro ES, right? And then let's make it big. The blue column here are limit buy orders, and the red column are limit sell orders. The orange red column, I guess. Then in between them are market orders hitting into them, right? Then you can see a couple of other things like this price right here, 30.8450. It's blue because that's where I'm long from on average. And then this column over here to the left with the numbers shows you how much you make or lose at each price. In between that right here, volume profile. So that's basically how you read it. What we're doing is we're watching. Okay, so for instance, right there, did you see it? Did you see it go whoop? Some stops right there. Looks like a few retail traders stopping out at 30.86. So why not reset everything and use that as a reference? We'll see if the 10-year wants to hit into 25 this time. It looks like a way better setup. I mean, that 25 is pulling a little bit. Okay, now it flips. Oh, nobody's hitting into that? So when they pull like that, okay, 168. There you go. Down ticks. So that's good. That new low there looks like that this could go.
Sunday Driver says another 1.5 million out of work.
Yeah, it was only slightly above expectations. I know. If they don't extend those unemployment benefits, then yeah, it's kind of ugly. Like, they're going to have to change it. They're going to have to change it so that you're not making more from staying home than you are from working. Or people are never going to go back to work until the unemployment benefits end. And then you kind of get this strange gulf where, in order to get the economy going again, everybody has to go off of unemployment. But then when they do go off of unemployment, there's going to be less money for them to buy consumer goods. And so we're going to take a hit. Temporary hit, at least. I guess you could say that it's still.
Air Cages says
It's
what's
still
upset.
recover. Hey, Air Cages, where you been? Bolton says Putin thinks he can play Trump like a fiddle.
Sunday Driver says that might be true, but we don't tie those conditions to big banks who basically receive free money.
Anyways, it's going to get really interesting.
Uzi Knesset says we need to hire at our business, and the state reinstated the job search requirement to qualify for unemployment, so let the scheduled interviews who don't bother showing up begin.
Oh, that's got to be really annoying, Uzi, because they don't want to actually work. Yeah. It's really funny because when this all happened, we talked about it, didn't we? And Republicans were bringing it up. They almost scuttled the bill over this. We said this would be really bad for the economy and it would make it difficult to get back to work. And what happened? What's happening? I'll tell you, if my wife makes more on unemployment, and I mean, I don't know, just we have the baby involved, so maybe she would still stay home if she could. But
Uzi Knesset says yeah, Republicans bone themselves signing off on the CARES Act.
It's just exactly what they said was going to happen.
Sunday Driver says you have to be a real dumbass to not take whatever good job is available. People who turn down work in this environment get what they deserve.
Uzi Knesset says they pretty much have to extend the welfare state.
Bad. It's really bad, isn't it?
Air Cages says not much. Been shorting the market while I have The Big Short playing on loop in the background.
Oh gosh. I think it's funny that so many of the new generation of traders think that movie is like the movie. When I watch that movie, there's so many things.
Uzi Knesset says come November, the election is going to be about money in our pockets. Democrats have that unlocked because of the CARES Act.
You really think, so this is one that I don't get. I'm probably wrong about this, but people keep saying Donald Trump is going to be elected or not elected based on the economy. And I'm sitting here like, how does the economy fucking matter at this point?
Sunday Driver says there are things we could do to improve it. Like, why the hell are we still bringing in millions of people? Why aren't we eliminating work visas?
Like if the economy recovers and stays high going into the election, is that really because it wouldn't have changed my vote. Quite frankly, I'm really concerned if we're higher than we should be, Like if we're continue to move up into the election and we only do that because of pumping money in.
I'm not even talking about the economy. I'm just talking about 60 million people who need the government to give them money or they'll be destitute. Lol.
The whole thing's pretty jacked up. I agree. Are we gonna get a hammer here? It's kind of close. If it does end up being a hammer, which I'd say it is a hammer, I'm going to say it's it's still a red hammer and kind of iffy.
Sunday
was a
Driver says if you haven't decided on who you are going to vote for now, then you are a dumbass. How can you be undecided at this point?
Right? Well, no, yeah. Anybody that's involved knows who they're voting for, but anybody who's involved probably has had their opinion decided by, propaganda years ago, right? It's all of those independents that never pay attention to elections until the month before. It's all of those people that we got to wonder about. We've been kind of saying this for a while, but there's a really good article on Politico about this, pointing out that the polling cannot be accurate. That all of the problems that plagued the polling in 2016 are still there, and if not more exaggerated. And so, especially in battleground states, right now the polls are showing Joe Biden winning, but they are probably overstating the gulf between them. It's probably much closer than the polls show. You can't deny the trajectory, but think of it like this. Somebody calls you to do a poll, okay? And then they tell you they're going to ask you 50 questions, right? Because they have to ask you.
Knesset says when November rolls around, even the most MAGA of the MAGAist will vote for whoever is going to put money in their pocket if they're unemployed. Even if it's a Democrat.
Maybe. I don't know about that one. But say they're going to do a poll and you have to answer 50 questions. They're like, do you have an hour to do a poll for us? Or maybe it's 30 minutes. I think usually they're 30 minutes. The ones that I've been given are about 30 minutes, but they can be longer.
Knesset says money is a powerful motivator. Friends.
You going to answer that poll? You going to take that 30 minutes to do it? Probably not. And that's the problem with the polling right now, is that there's a group of people that are, the kind of more of the blue collar worker type, non-college graduates in particular, that aren't going to answer the polls. And so they're being underrepresented in the current samples. And because they use that information to kind of, I don't know how exactly they figure it out, but they kind of have to go in and based on what they see in their polling and other things, they figure out what the turnout on election day is and adjust the numbers based on that so that it's a sample that's representative of how many Democrats, Republicans, and independents turn out. But all of the polls are basically oversampling Democrats because the Republicans aren't answering the polls. In fact, I see some Donald Trump supporters saying just don't answer the polls, like that they're intentionally trying to manipulate the polls so that they'll be biased towards the Democrats. I see a lot of people saying that sort of stuff. So the polling's probably so it's those people that don't really know what's going on. They know that Joe Biden was president. Okay. And I mean, I have these people on my Facebook. So they know that Joe Biden was vice president, but they don't know that Joe Biden said, I don't want my children growing up in a racial jungle.
Knesset says
right?
I lie on the polls whenever they come in. Tell them I'm voting for Biden.
There you go.
Sunday Driver says if a pollster called me, I'd tell them that I'm voting for Raz in the Chaz.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. They don't know that Joe Biden said that people who display the Confederate flag are very fine people. Joe Biden said that, right? That hasn't been out there. When it gets a month to the election and these things are coming out in like ads, and both of these guys are going to be throwing a ton of ads out, right? The landscape is going to change considerably. So it's really too early to tell.
Knesset says I'm still a registered Democrat for that purpose alone.
Lying on polls? That's funny, dude. But I know that there's a lot of Donald Trump supporters that do that. There's a lot. They just hate the pollsters. Wirecard has postponed its annual press conference for today. I think it's the right decision given the risks around COVID. Great corporate governance. Who is Wirecard? Okay.
Sunday Driver says I think Biden's numbers will fall once he picks a VP. I don't think he's got any good chances and he's narrowed his selection to a woman.
Uzi Knesset says I get shit for it all the time, but it's like, why be honest with the liars?
That's funny. No, he is in a real pickle with the VP pick, right? I kind of think that he has to pick Kamala Harris, but like what? Like I'm hearing that Elizabeth Warren is still a top pick. Like, oh man, I don't know. If he picks Elizabeth Warren, there are going to be a lot of people in Black Lives Matters that are going to be super upset. And honestly, it's really weird to me. This is the thing that I think is the most bizarre and confusing and is most likely to surprise us, is that the dominant political narrative right now is the growth of the Black Lives Matters movement.
Uzi Knesset
and
says if he doesn't pick a woman of color, people gonna toss their cookies at him, lol.
Widespread public support for trying to reduce systemic racism. Even we can say that maybe it's not really there, but people generally are like supportive of stuff. They have like mixed feelings because like we don't want people looting, but everybody that I see on my Facebook is saying, oh, it's a good thing that we should destroy systemic racism and march, and we want to be part of history. Let's just like not loot, right? That's the way that people are thinking about it right now, right? Okay, so you got that dynamic going on. But then they picked the VP
John
that
Smith says he picks Hillary and Biden mysteriously dies.
But then they pick the nominee that has the most vulnerabilities in that area. Despite him winning with black voters in South Carolina and other areas, and that taking him to win the nomination, he has a lot of really serious vulnerabilities, right? Because he supported straight up racist policies in the past. He was against school busing, for school integration and school busing, for instance, right? And those things could come back to bite him hard.
Sunday Driver says systemic racism is a joke. It's right out of Marxist theory. It doesn't exist. Nothing in the data suggests it exists.
Well, I can give people the benefit of the doubt just to say, well, we should try to get rid of systemic racism, whether it exists or not. But you got to propose a bill. Like my thing is like, okay, what should be in the bill, and is what's in the bill a good policy or not? I would rather play on that, because otherwise you're just talking religion at that point, essentially, right? You're talking about things that you really probably can't prove one way or another, or you can prove that it exists, but you can't prove to what amount it's actually a significant factor, right? I get what you're saying. I'm trying to suggest to you that it's probably not an effective, from a political standpoint, it's probably not an effective strategy.
John Smith says I'm concerned about building more and more government institutions with vague goals of erasing an invisible enemy like systemic racism.
Well, there you go. See
Sunday
that
Driver says being against school busing was a good policy decision. Busing was terrible. Nothing good came of it.
Has a widespread public support, though, right? See, here's your thing, Sunday. You got to pick and choose your battles, right? Because you can't fight on everything. That's what the Democrats want you to do. I think that we still make that mistake. Democrats want to fight you on everything, and the goal that they have is that they want to have you consistently set against public opinion on multiple fronts all the time. And so they kind of bait the conservatives into picking poor battles, because the conservatives are fighting everywhere, and we feel like, well, we've got to fight them everywhere, or they'll just take over everything, right? But you have to pick and choose your battles, right? So I'm not going to say whether you're right or wrong on that particular thing. I'm just saying, think about it from the perspective of like, what is, when you're taking an issue, what is the right way to focus on something? For Republicans right now, the strategy should be, okay, let's admit that racism does happen. We're not going to fight on how much it happens or how big of an impact it really is, because we can say that it certainly exists to some extent. So then the question should be, what policies do we implement to do that? And when you actually get into it at that point, then you realize, oh, the policies that the Democrats are asking for are insane. They're basically asking for socialism, right? If you push the battlefield into a policy discussion, the Democrats lose hands down. And that's why you're seeing the Republicans doing this already. They're going to pass a bill, and Donald Trump made an executive order. Why? Because then they push it into the space of policy, right? What's the big policy that the Democrats want? To defund the police? That's never going to have widespread public support. See, now you've turned it on them. Now the Democrats are the ones doing crazy things that, nobody likes. You see? See how that works? You just have to pick and choose the right battle. Similarly, if you're a Democrat, you do want to get something passed because the vulnerability there is people say, Democrats have been in charge and they're causing the problems. But
John
you don't
Smith
want to
says,
do
I
too
think
much.
the Democrat approach is racist at its core, assuming that people of a certain skin color need help, money, less requirements to get into certain schools.
I agree.
John Smith says if you get into the policy, the most racist policies come from the Dems.
There you go. And see, that's the other thing, is if we were going to take it from an approach of what approach would actually be the most beneficial for society and not necessarily the one that gets you elected, then the approach that's most beneficial for society is teaching people to take responsibility for their own actions, even when bad things happen. So that's the real issue that we have these days, is that people say, well, it wasn't my fault that the economy failed or that I was born into a system with systemic racism and so I should get a pass. And that's not what responsibility is. Responsibility says that you still have your responsibilities even when mistakes or disasters happen. Right? If you only had to take responsibility for your actions when it was fair, then what would be the point of responsibility? But nobody wants to have that discussion, do we? That's probably not the most effective one politically.
John Smith says, so how do you extend that line of thought to the left without coming across as tone deaf or privileged?
You can't. I think that you just have to teach responsibility to your kids, and that's the best probably that you can do, is influence the people around you that trust you and teach them responsibility and hope that in future generations that people pick up on it. Okay, so we're having a pretty once again relatively choppy open. It sure looks like they want my stops.
John Smith says thumbs up.
Thanks. I don't know if this is going to go my way.
Uzi Knesset says, I swear to God, people who talk high-level politics are so out of touch with people on the ground. Like, who the hell thinks some dope dealer in the hood has any interest in being a doctor or a lawyer?
Well, I mean, I think you're right to some extent, Uzi, that there are certain people that are already old enough and set in their ways and probably aren't going to change, This whole idea of defund the police is really crazy.
Uzi Knesset says there's such a massive disconnect with the people doing the defending and the people being defended.
Yeah. People that are involved in gang warfare and dealing drugs aren't going to suddenly stop dealing drugs and aren't going to suddenly stop, battling with the other gangs because the police are nicer or they're social workers or some nonsense like that. You know what? In Utah, that might work, okay?
Uzi Knesset says, I know, trust me, I've spent a good deal of my life buying fucking drugs, lol.
In Utah, probably a higher percentage, there you go, there's my stop, of the, a higher percentage of the calls are going to be mental health because there's not a lot of crime in Utah anyways. So the people that are, causing problems and causing the police downtown to have to do something, it's usually because the guy is crazy. And I see this on the street every day. I run into crazy people on the street every day. So having more social worker type people respond to those situations, maybe that would be good. Okay. But when you're in a place where it's gang warfare, guys, those people aren't going to stop because they changed spellings. You know what's going to cause those people to stop? What's going to cause those people to stop is that anytime that they are doing illegal things, they are almost immediately met with consequences. That's what's going to stop people from doing that sort of thing.
Knesset says more social workers because yeah, your guidance counselor was such a big help, right? Lol.
It is especially in these big cities that already have some crime problems to come in and say, we need to defund the police is the right answer is like really crazy. Like, we already had this argument in American history, and the right side won, and it was really successful, right? In the 70s, they were complaining about this sort of stuff, and there was a lot of protests and everything, and there was a lot of protests against the police. So going into the 80s, the police were actually a little bit soft, and crime had increased dramatically in areas like New York. And so then people came in and they said, well, we should have a really strong police presence. And so when they had a really strong police presence, then all of a sudden the crime went away.
Knesset says white people want to save black people so badly, but they don't want to face the fact that they have to save them from their own culture and bad decisions.
Well, I do think that you have to get people to make different decisions, but how do you do that? I don't know. Well, if it goes up to that, I'm going to have to. It sucks that they stopped out the one contract, but.
Knesset says, and yeah, you can shake your head all you want, but how many times you go into the ghetto to buy a quarter sack? Lol.
What is it? What do you mean by a quarter sack? That's slang that we in Utah I'm not familiar with. So there's still a little bit of resistance to crossing that gap at 93, but the buying is still coming in. I think that it's possible for them to do it, especially after a candle like that. You're gonna get some consolidation here, and then maybe they can move higher.
Knesset says never, right? You've never gone into the hood to buy weed. Stared that culture in the face, seen the people who live it and make those decisions. Most people I know who talk politics, especially white.
Nah, you know, I have.
Knesset says people have never done it.
When I was a missionary, one of the spots that I was at was like Central Independence, Missouri. And there is this one road, man. There is this one road in that town, man. And it's a pretty long road, but all of the houses on it are crap. And I swear every person on that road was fucking on meth. I'm not even joking. Like, it was really bad. And yeah. There's interesting experiences. I remember the first time that I realized I met these people and their last name was the same as mine. And they're like, "Oh, these people are really excited to talk to us." Okay, they've had problems, like they've done drugs like meth in the past, but they want to change. Let's try it. I've never dealt with that sort of thing before. So we're just like, whatever. It wasn't until much later that I realized, oh, you know why they want to talk so much? Because they're tweaking right then, dude. You're an idiot. Good grief. Oh my gosh. That house was the craziest shit. Like, I remember I went over there one day and they had a daughter that was like 16 or 17, I think. She was a little chunky, but whatever. And probably, she had the same problems as her parents. So she had done drugs before, I guess. But she probably wasn't doing the meth. She's talking about going to this party. Like, it was a week before it was. Oh, she's talking about going to this party. And then after the party happened, she got raped and like disappeared for like 2 weeks or something. And we're all like super concerned, but I was not. I didn't really know what meth did to you, man. I did not really realize how much methamphetamine like impacts your decision making and causes you to just do really stupid shit. And I remember one time would come over because they had like weren't there for an appointment or something, and so we were a little mad about that. And then it turned out that they had gone to some other church, and they were kind of a little defiant because I say defiant, but like they didn't like us anymore because this other church was willing to like do like literally give them anything. Whereas we were like, well, you have to do X if you want to get baptized. You have to follow these rules and you have to do these things first, and you're not doing that. And so they were, because we weren't just giving them stuff. You know what I mean? And so she was saying some like really awful stuff to us, and my companion, man, my companion was like the most lighthearted, non-serious person I think I've ever met. He was just a total goofball, always quoting movie jokes from movies and stuff like that. But at that one time, it was like the one time he was serious, and he just rebuked that lady, told him straight up, like, if you don't change your life, it's going to end badly for you. And we walked away. I was so proud of him. I had experiences with the ghetto, the white trash ghetto. Let's see here.
Uzi Knesset says the best part is, trust me on this, critical race theory, bullshit isn't on their minds at all.
Oh, they probably
Making
don't understand
money
that
as
stuff, yeah.
Uzi Knesset says back in the day, when we used to pay employees straight cash, these people would get paid on a Friday and be broke before they got home. Hit the dealer's house, the liquor store, and the grocery. Uzi Knesset says before going home. Like, what government policy or law is going to change that kind of behavior?
I totally get what you're saying. No, you're right. It's this the biggest issue in our society today, and I'm this isn't necessarily something that I've seen all the time, but for some reason really stands out right now, is that society is basically making excuses for everybody. Nobody takes responsibility for anything anymore. Well, it's not fair that this company goes out of business because
Uzi Knesset says yes.
they are hitting into a once in 100-year pandemic. I
Uzi
get the
Knesset
argument.
says spot on.
I get the argument. There's these companies that are otherwise healthy, and we don't want some contagion to completely take the economy down, especially since like we're already levered up and we could have like a real depression. And shouldn't we try to avoid a real depression? But what is the consequence? What is the worst consequence of it all? Aside from the leveraging up and the deflation and all the other things that we talk about, it's that people have learned that they don't have to take responsibility for anything. You can just add more and more risk. Look at this shit that goes on in Wall Street bets. I don't think that it would be going on if it wasn't for some of the other decisions that we made. Oh, hey, you found this little bug in Wall Street in Robinhood that allows you to, buy and sell options and then use that as capital for a further trade and basically get infinite leverage on something. Like, that is so fucked up that people do that. But you know what? They don't care. You know what? If it doesn't work out and I'm on the hook for $700,000, just declare bankruptcy. You don't have to deal with it, right? They've all learned that you can just take excessive risks and not have to face the consequences.
Uzi Knesset says it's the
fucked up.
transition, bro, the handing off of the world to our generation. A generation that imagines a risk-free world with no consequences. Socially, financially, politically, everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that I think is funny about it is that my concern has always been, ever since the 2008 crisis, is that people, particularly on the left side of the aisle, want to live in a world where there is no that there are no risks. They think that we can eliminate all risks. They think that they can eliminate all risks. And so what have they essentially done instead? They've all kind of almost flipped it on its head. It's not just like we can't really take excessive risks. Now it's turned into, oh yeah, we can take like really excessive and irresponsible risks. And that it's so interesting. Like we put all of these onerous regulations on the banks because we don't want that to blow up the system. But then on the other hand, we have individual investors taking, buying shares in Hertz. What the fuck, guys? What are you doing? Those shares are worthless. You realize this, right? It doesn't matter how much you buy it. It's going to be worthless. They're in bankruptcy. We've created an incredibly unusual situation, haven't we? Yeah, I think that there could be another slight little move up, but okay so far. Still mad about that one contract getting stopped out. I don't know if I did the right thing. I guess adding another contract once I had some profit on again was maybe okay, but then if that doesn't go down, then what happens? I don't know. I would have to cut it. I would have to have cut it off really quickly after that if that's what had happened. But this one, it just went, so it was okay. Man, I really got into a rant that time, didn't I? Yeah, I think that this 102 area looks really nice. There's a lot of profit taking on that one, but let's see what happens. You can give it a little bit more. Yeah. Go right through that area. I guess we finally got on the one thing that like the issue that I seem to care about more than anything, right? Is society's approach to risk. That's the issue that I ended up being like, that's what I know and I think is important and should, not that other things aren't important, but you can't care about everything, guys. You can't, we just don't have the energy for it these days. Don't let other people tell you what you should or shouldn't care about, right? There's millions of people in the world. There's plenty of people out there to care about these other issues, even if they really are the most important ones. But you should pick the thing that you think is important and that you understand and that you can really help with and focus on that. Don't let other people tell you what matters or what doesn't. There's 250 million people in the United States that can care about those other things if it's really that important. I probably get some heat for that, but
Uzi Knesset says before the teardown. Uzi
read
Knesset
them
says
out
I
of
made the
order.
call a few years ago. I think we're done. There is no more upside to society. It's all tearing it down at this point. If we recover from the teardown, the apex will be where it was. That guy says morning guys.
You know, I think that I'm just perpetually optimistic, but I think that it's something that we can get over, but it's going to take a generation. And we're probably going to end up with a generation from the economic setup that I see right now. I think that we're at a severe risk of having a generation where it doesn't go forward, right? It won't be bad. It won't be bad. People will still be living and it'll be okay, but they won't be getting ahead. They won't be generating stuff because we're paying this debt and it'll basically feel like we're just going sideways for years and years and years. And then in the end, we'll have to face the fact that the reason that happened was because our approach to risk was wrong. We're too afraid to take risks in places where we should have been taking risks, but then on other places we completely tried to eliminate the risk and just exacerbated the risk in the end by encouraging people to be irresponsible. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of a pullback here. I still like this 05-ish area. Even overnight, it was okay. So I totally get they can have a pullback here, but unless I see like crazy volume in through here, I think I want to hold this. Rand Squawk retweeting Ian Shepherdson. Let's show this thread. People keep telling me that the surge in COVID cases and hospitalizations in the South is not such a big deal because hospital rates per capita are far lower than in New York at the peak. That is definitely true. See the chart. But this misses 3 key points. First, hospital rates are rising quickly in the South, 11% yesterday in one day. So today's not so bad numbers can easily become next month's nightmare. Hospital rates lag cases, and cases are rocketing even with low testing in some states. Second, at the time New York hit the peak, it was in lockdown. Right now, the policy to get cases back down in the South seems to be hope. And no, that's it. No enforcement of social distancing, no compulsory masks, nothing, just wishful thinking. Good luck. Finally, who the hell thinks that not being as bad as New York at the peak is a sensible policy objective? New York at the peak was a nightmare. Do the people of Alabama, Arizona, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, etc. want that? Do they want even half of that? I think that they've acknowledged that there is going to be a lot of cases, and that as long as the hospital capacity is not breached, that they don't overflow the hospitals, it's okay. I think that's the pick, the strategy. Okay, so they're coming down. They're coming way back. Hmm. I didn't really distribute that much up at the top.
Uzi Knesset says I still think letting the virus play itself out is the better strategy. Mitigating the sick and the dead is better than mitigating the entire world.
Well, yeah, you can't prevent everybody from getting it. I think that crushing the curb is also myopic, right? There really wasn't that much. Well, let's see what happens. I kind of like when I'm looking at like my signs of trend and everything else like that move back down wasn't really that bad. Even though it seemed so fast. But I guess that this is a market that seems to be able to move.
That guy says what's your entry, Seth? Uzi Knesset says building more hospitals, expanding healthcare services, etc., not only better strategy during the virus but will leave us with better services after it. Trying to police 7 billion individuals is dumb.
In the end, I think it ends up being 89, but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really happy with how that ended up going because I was way further down. I was more like 85. But then because there was another pullback down that was so dramatic, it didn't end up working very well. It's still positive and everything, but Well, you had a big candle down and a big candle up, and even this next candle is also pretty wild, but you didn't get a pivot.
That guy says same here kinda, 87.5 for me.
Mm. Yeah, I wasn't happy with the entry. You know what? I wouldn't. I'm not too happy with my calls today. But I also expected today to be a kind of a weird day that I wouldn't do well on. So I haven't moved back over to my serious account yet. I don't think I'll do that until next week. And next week, depending on what I see next week, it might say, "Oh, well, now it's too quiet." So we'll see. Okay. Yeah, that high, um, hard to predict for me. Let's see here. What should we be looking for in terms of fix? 3116. Oh yeah, there's still 3130 above us too. Okay, well, it seems like it came back a lot and everything, but I think that we just kind of have to sit through it and see if it works out or not. It is pretty swingy though, for sure. I guess I should also keep in mind the time. It is the top of the hour, and we got that counter trend period coming up. Okay.
That guy says this better work. I took the extra risk and traded at the open tears of joy.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, there's a reason that there's more activity out the open, right? It's a way better trading there, you know. You get later in the day, the later in the day you get, the worse the traders are, right? Cuz they've like already made their moves. Now today I think you're okay. Today they haven't really done the thing yet, if that makes sense. Like, there's still a chance that this completely turns back down, but there's also still quite a bit of upside potential as well. Okay, well, at the moment, the trend does look positive, but they are having a hard time forming an action to confirming the pivot. Looks like this time they will do it. It's gonna be close, actually. It's funny to watch it. They totally fight over this. I bet you that here in the next 5 seconds, somebody's going to try and buy it up. Oh, maybe it's down too far now. Like they did not want that to close above 97. Oh, so we're looking for a bar on the 1 minute chart to close above the high of the previous bar, and it's not happening. Even though there was some pretty positive trend up there. Well, the amount of volume that they're trading up there is not huge. Supreme Court stops Trump from canceling Obama's DACA. Man, FX Macro is like really doesn't like him. Oh man, that's not good. I think that this power cord is toast. No, I need this monitor. Well, I should splurge and I saw something on KSL with 2 monitors that were good monitors, and I could use that one, and then my son could take the other one.
That guy says nice bullish engulfing candle forming.
See, I bent it. There we go. I fixed it. Could you hear it like clicking on and off? Well, it still hasn't actually done a pivot, but this bar is extremely likely to do it. Oh no, wait. It's still going to be close. What? Yeah, okay. There we go. Now you get it. That's funny. So the longer that it takes to form a pivot, usually the more likely it is that it's actually going to turn back down. But now that they've formed a pivot, the guy that was selling is probably like
That guy says
panicking.
don't jinx it lol.
Now that guys, you see how aggressively they started to push up after that happened, after that bar closed. I tell you what, it's kind of an interesting thing because one, it tells you that people, their individual traders are wrangling over where a bar opens and closes. They straight up will try and change where a bar opens and closes. Which kind of should make you a little bit weary about just straight using the charts. But then it also tells you that stuff does matter, because why would they put so much effort into it if it didn't matter? So let's see what the Supreme Court story here is. Where should I go? Oops. CNN have it? Supreme Court. Past hour, let's say. Okay, here we go from NBC News. The Supreme Court ruled Thursday that the Trump administration cannot carry out its
Lucas
plan to
says
shut
good
down the
morning.
Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which has allowed nearly 800,000 young people known as Dreamers to avoid deportation and remain in the U.S. Okay, so him losing this he is going to be very upset. And I'm wondering what their reasoning was. The ruling said the government failed to give an adequate justification for ending the program. The administration could try again to shut it down by offering a more detailed explanation for its action, but the White House might not want to end such a popular program in the heart of a presidential campaign. Immigration lawyers told the Supreme Court after the case was argued last fall that frontline healthcare workers, blah, 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 blah. It's none of this information is like important. Yeah, we'll have to wait a little bit more to get a real legal synopsis of it because I want to know what was their reasoning and how did the vote come down, who voted how. Well, they came just short of my target there. That's pretty funny.
Hayden Cottle says, what's your target, Seth?
So I have a couple here. So I'm going to take one contract off at 3104 here. Because that was a node from overnight and yesterday. But my other metrics tell me that the upside target for the day is somewhere around 3120. But then there's also yesterday's open, which is 3130, that has been significant resistance. So that might be a spot that if bulls really get going, that they're going to want to try and get to. If we end up sputtering out here and moving down, the downside target is 3053. Those are kind of like rough, If they get to that point, you will see a
Hayden
significant
Cottle
rush
says,
through
thanks, man.
it. If we get to that point,
Lucas
you'll
says,
see.
I almost have my auction vista set the way I want. I'm missing one thing, and that's your yellowish color you have showing big orders. What level is that one?
Oh yeah, well, so I don't know how you have it set up, but I did that yesterday, and all I did was just change. I had it monochrome, and then I just changed level 8 to the greenish. So it's only showing me the largest order like that. Which in today's current environment are not even necessarily significant prices. Like 200 contracts, is that really a big deal? Not really. I remember back when we would see 1,000 on the
Lucas
mini.
says, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Lucas says, I see. So lower levels are smaller orders.
Yeah, everything that's gray is the smaller orders. Because it seems like that biggest one is really the only one that really seems to matter. You could change it so that the depth tuner is a little bit more like that. But then I don't really like the way that looks, so I just do it as a 1. Probably have my circle tuner too high for at least for today. It's funny how that changes. I can never seem to get a perfect setting for that one. I can hear my birds have woken up. Can they hear me all the way over here? You know what? So I don't know if you can tell if you notice, but behind me, I got rid of my son's desk. He was so freaking loud on, what was it, Monday? I was working during the day and he was playing on the computer. And I'm like, well, I really don't want to put him in a situation where he can't play on that computer when I'm home. And because he plays with his grandma and stuff. So I'm like, even though my wife has complained about it many times, I'm like, I'm moving him downstairs. She didn't want him to be downstairs. She's like, I want him to be where I'm looking at his screen a lot. And I'm like, listen, if he's going to do something on that you don't want him, that he doesn't want you to see, he's going to do it on his iPad, not on his computer. So wouldn't worry about that. And actually, as it has turned out, since I've
Max
moved him
Zuniga
downstairs,
says, do you trade full time?
Since I've moved him downstairs, he's been spending more time with his sisters because they go down there now too. So now the kids always want to be in the basement and it's quiet up here. And I am so happy. I am so happy about it. It is so much better. And I got so much more work done yesterday. Max, I do not trade full time. I trade the first 2 or 3 hours of the session. It's just kind of a hobby for me. And then I'm done for the day. And a lot of the time, for long periods of time, I just trade at sim too, because I'm very risk adverse and I know there are certain types of markets that I don't do well in. So this market, I guess I'm doing okay today, but I'm actually not really very happy with my performance today. So even though this trade is working out and it does look like I'm gonna have a positive day, unless this completely collapses. Yeah, but it's a sim order because I expect today to be bad. So it came up there. I think I've got to take one of these off somewhere around here. Let's watch the orders. There's a lot of back and forth at 3101. Okay, so I'll take one off there. Since that seems to be the safe spot. Cool. So see, that one worked out because I was so small. And then on the big one, when I got one that was working, I let it run. Actually, how much? I'm getting 3-1 right now, actually. And now I can do this thing, like if it comes back to 30.95, might be able to take it again. Now we're getting the counter trend move, though. That's another thing we need to consider. So it might be a little iffy and sideways for the next 30 minutes. Anyways, why was I talking about the background? That I moved the kids downstairs. Oh yeah, well I moved him downstairs, so now he's closer
That
to
guy
where
says
the birds
anyone
are.
know how to get PL of past trades on Sierra?
They do have a trade analyzer window somewhere, don't they? I would have to open up Sierra charts to check. I don't even know what they. I don't even know if I could get my data to connect to Sierra right now. the whole where we're at with brokers and platforms right now in the industry is really interesting because it used to be really open and things are kind of clamping back down. And I think that the way it may start to get is that it'll be much more about your platform and your broker just tied together, which is unfortunate, but it seems like that's the way it's going to be. But we still got, like, I was looking at the Optimus Flow platform again yesterday. Um,
That guy says I love the UI, but it literally has too many features to learn.
well, the problem with Sierra charts is that it's just not very well organized. Like where the settings are and everything and how many settings there are, just, crazy. They could have better UI implementation. That's the problem with Sierra charts.
Lucas says, did you see that news of a kid who
Yes.
committed suicide cause Robinhood had a glitch that showed he had a 700K loss?
Well, I was kind of alluding to that a little bit when I was saying that we've done this thing where we've fooled people into taking excessive risks. Oh, if you take a 700K loss, then it's okay, just declare bankruptcy. That's what they were saying on Wall Street Bets yesterday. Was in a situation like that, just declare bankruptcy, you'll be fine. Won't affect you in the least bit. So YOLO all you want is what they were saying.
Lucas says yeah.
But obviously it had an impact on that guy's psyche. Maybe if they had told him that, maybe he would still be in it. I don't know. But it's unfortunate. I tell you what, guys, because we're kind of in a tough situation, right? We've created this market where the market is really rewarding irresponsible behavior. And so the tendency is going to be start being irresponsible, right? Because you're going to make more money if you do that, right? But the issue is going to be, just remember that the issue with those kinds of risks is that when you take that kind of a risk, you can lose it all at once. Doesn't matter how much money you made, you can lose it all at once. So continue to practice good risk management. It could be like this for years and years and years, and everybody else will be making tons and tons more money than you. And you'll be like, well, maybe I should be more, reckless. Don't do it, because eventually the reckoning will come and those people will lose everything and you will survive. Continue to be responsible. It'd be interesting if we break a new high before the next 20 minutes or so is up, because it's making me think that that's what it's going to do, but that's an unusual thing for it to do. It would be unusual for them to move up here like that this time. I got something in my shirt here. Yeah, I can't feel it.
Daewon Chung says, what is the indicator you are using in your ninja chart?
Which one? I have a simple moving average and a volume weighted moving average, a cumulative delta, and then I have another chart series overlaid on the chart. I think I will put out a video on the work back time series because a lot of people have asked me questions about it and I have to explain it, and I think that it would be better if there was just a video to explain the best way to set it up and how it works. Oh yeah.
Trader Josh says, do you use TweetDeck?
Yes. TweetDeck. And I have a list of squawks. So that's what I put there. Things that would be on Twitter that would be news moving for me. And I have a list of other traders that I watch too. Big traders. Stuff to follow with my notifications and stuff. TweetDeck is the way to watch Twitter for trading for sure. Don't know what I would do without the wheat deck. Okay, so they actually ended up coming right to where I was saying. I'm gonna wait longer though. I was just thinking about should I have dumped both contracts and tried to get back in here, but you don't want to get back in here. I did think that they were going to go for the ATR stop, which they did. Am I baked in a lot? China finds heavy coronavirus traces in seafood meat sections of Beijing food market. I thought we didn't have to worry about our food supply chain. Oh, what did Donald Trump say here about Bolton? When Wacko John Bolton went on Defaced a Nation and so stupidly said that he looked at the Libyan model for North Korea, all hell broke out. Kim Jong un, who we were getting along with very well, went ballistic, just like his missiles, and rightfully so. He didn't want Bolton anywhere near him. Bolton's dumbest of all statements set us back very badly with North Korea. Even now, I asked him, "What the hell were you thinking?" He had no answer and just apologized. That was early on. I should have fired him right then and there, says Donald Trump. He's obviously concerned about the John Bolton thing, and he should be. But I still say if John Bolton had all of this stuff to say, why did he wait for a book? Why wouldn't he have said it to Congress? Don't trust him one bit. Just for that, I don't think he's trustworthy. Let's see if we get more on this Supreme Court case. Now let's try NPR. The vote was 5-4 with John Roberts casting the fifth vote. The decision to rescind it was arbitrary. I don't know about that. So do they really? Where is the constitutional requirement or the legal requirement that they have to give a good reason? I should. I hope that the legal analysis that I see explains that, where that comes from. So I want to see a conservative viewpoint on this first, because I don't think that because the liberals won, I don't think that they're gonna provide a whole lot on it other than what I'm getting from the mainstream media. But it seems like nobody's awake yet. Yeah, all right. So I'm actually, this area actually looks okay for a long, but the timing and everything doesn't. So have to sit on our hands. Let's pull this over here. I want to keep track of. Oh, okay. Yeah, it definitely would have been better to have taken them both off up here. I think this pullback is okay. I think we could continue to push up and go higher, but you know what's interesting is that a lot of people were expecting today to be really, really volatile, and it hasn't really been that bad, has it? It's been a little bit chippy, but they haven't done anything super crazy yet.
Lucas says I hope. Lucas says tomorrow's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, tomorrow could be really interesting. You're right, Luke. Well, interestingly enough, the 10-year has remained in its range despite the strong push-up. I would probably be really frustrated if I was in Treasuries right now. Okay, so the open of the hour ends up being 30.9725 or so. Just mark that. Now let's just put it as an hour open. We got another strong up bar there. I'm actually a little bit worried about that one. The media is going to beat this. Donald Trump lost in the Supreme Court. They're just going to beat that one down over and over and over again. It was a 5-4, though. We're going to have to read the arguments for and against because, I don't know, sometimes the arguments that I see in the Supreme Court, I don't seem legal to me, you know? But this one might be a case where they do it. Like, is there a legal requirement that to end a program like that the government has to give a good reason? Because it seems to me like if the executive branch created a program, they should be able to eliminate it. let's wait. Where's my stop? Get out. Shit. Okay, phew. Not complete disaster. Not a complete disaster.
Lucas says we.
I thought that I had my stop up there and I had moved it up. Well, I screwed up there. I could have saved way more of that. So that Florida coronavirus cases rise 3.9% versus a 7-day average of 2.5%. Huh. This is going to come back. The way that the market reacts to those releases is really crazy.
Roby Mani says what was the news?
So the news was that Florida coronavirus cases rise 3.9% versus a 7-day average of 2.5%. Now they're going to go higher, of course. This is going to stop so many people out. Oh, I bet you there's more than that in it.
Bob the Builder says what was that?
That move up I don't think was anything.
Bob the Builder says this plung.
I think that was just an imbalance forcing people into the high. I think that a bunch of people ended up reflexively going short on that news and then getting stopped out into the high. Hmm.
Abel Teckle says have you made a trade today on the S?
Oh yeah, we've made a couple of trades on the ES. I really wish I was more nimble on that last thing, right? If my stop had gotten hit, then maybe when we were back down at 30.90, maybe I could have bought it. I don't know if I was really looking for it to reverse like that, but now that they hit the high, like look at this. You're getting really I don't know, flaky action, I guess you could say. I honestly, I could have held through it, but I don't want to take a loss like that. I was just upset that I was like, where was my stop? Couldn't find it. Did something wrong there. Oh, you know what? I can look through here on orders. I had one at 94. Oh, it looks like I just got out before it. I think I had my stop too low, but I ended up getting out before it got hit. Okay, well, is there anything that tracks when the release will be? I don't think that there can. Schumer says Trump can't be trusted on China policy. The squawks think that that's a thing. Oh, now they move back up, of course. Thing is, that was Florida. You still got like Texas, right? Zero Hedge tweeting about it. There's a trade off between cases and the economic damage. Well, the way that they're trading right now says that the final decision on whether or not that news matters is not completely final. Aggressive dip buying. I wonder how much. How I don't know if it was really significant. Okay, but right there. Okay. This is kind of a weird setup, but we're getting into the time, so I think it's okay. Okay. Fighting to try and create a pivot, and certain it'll be close. I don't think they're going to do it, but it'll be close. Oh, there they did. They did do it. Market not really reacting to it though, so I don't know if that. Okay. He's hitting it. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Abel Teckle says second dive to 3090 area possible.
I've not seen that in a very, very, very long time. I don't think I've seen something like that for years. That was somebody straight up hitting into the limit offers, trying to take 3 or 4 points at a time and pushing it over and over and over again. It didn't completely break through. There's definitely somebody offering out here, but he was very insistent. So, I kind of don't like that I'm in a position because there's going to be a lot of volume there, and you don't necessarily have a good chance of predicting which way it's going to go. I think in this case, I think that the fundamentals support long
That guy
still.
says English, please.
Okay, which part did you not understand? The part about what happened or what the implications are?
That guy says both.
No, don't worry about it. It's okay. So what's happening is there are a lot of limit sell orders up here holding the market down, and somebody was aggressively hitting into them, and he bought into them. And
Jamie Monahan says a man killed himself over a glitch in Robinhood,
Yeah,
saying he was in
we already talked about
$730,000 debt fearful.
We can talk about that some more in a second if you want. He's so basically this, think of it like this. Like right now, if I click in like right here, it'll buy at market, right? Well, these guys, they have this, he's saying, well, what he did was he said, I'm going to buy 200 contracts. And so he hit it up and it brought it up 3 ticks. And then as soon as it did that, the guys that are offering, the algorithms that are offering just offered back down. And then he bought it up again. And then he did it again and again and again. Okay, so now he's starting to push through them. So he's winning. So the implication was
that guy says that's illegal.
You've basically got 2 large forces battling it out in an area. So I don't like being in the thick of it per se, but I just ended up being that way, and I thought that the chances of them continuing to push up were high. And so I read that as confirming my thing. But you just got to be careful. Like if I wasn't in a position, that would have made me be like, okay, no, I wouldn't have gotten in until they had gotten above 31.02, where the original thing was to show that guy really was winning. So I hope that answered the questions. Basically somebody tried to plow through an iceberg with market orders, and he had to hit it 3 or 4 times. It came back, and then let it come back, and then still hitting it in order for them to get through it. So one of the implications is that if well, I guess we did break a new high, but was it actually a new high? Yeah, it was. You've got a ton of people short here now that are underwater. Right? Like the more people that were involved in the move, the more it's going to move when it gets away from that area from the guys stopping out. So many liberal people are happy about the Supreme Court thing.
That guy says yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if those two cases were really...
Gary Rich says if you think that technique is illegal, get out and stay out of the market weekends.
It's not illegal to hit into the market with market orders. It wasn't spoofing or anything. They were taking positions. It's not the only time I've ever seen it, but in the E-mini, I think it's been over a year since I've seen that. I think it's been well over a year since I've seen that. That was incredibly unusual action. Now in Treasuries, it used to happen all the time. I haven't seen it recently, but you used to see that sort of thing all the time in Treasuries.
That guy says yeah, I was thinking of spoofing when you described that lol.
Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't spoofing. They can spoof too. It's the rules around spoofing and whether not necessarily the rules, but whether or not the SEC will pick it up and prosecute you for it is a little sketchy. Because the high frequency trading programs will cancel orders before they get hit all the time, right? I mean, how often is it in the Treasury where, it says that there's 2,000 there, and then when it moves up, it's only 1,200 that actually take it. Like that freaking happens all the time. They're just offering out to get a good place, but they don't actually want to execute. Happens a lot. Okay, well, so here's the other consequence of something like that is that there's a lot of interest in that area, so it's hard for them to get away from it. It probably still favors the longs, but you could get rotation around this. Especially if he doesn't defend his turf, which he's not. It's coming back through him. Ouch. Yeah, they just...
That guy says watch that video when you get a chance. It's a great read. Listen, a real life story of a pro trader turned spoofer. They are making a movie on this guy's life. Gary Rich says spoofing and front running are not illegal by SEC. They have special exemptions for firms. It's called liquidity.
Oh, there you go. But there were these big traders that were putting big orders out and spoofing with them, and they got had. And I'm sure that there's more, because when I first started trading, it was very common to see big orders like that move around. Now it's not very common at all. Especially now that the liquidity is all gone in the 10-year.
Bob the Builder says Delta becoming negative.
Yeah. Well, the delta is overall equal to what it was before that event. So what happened right there was all of the guys that bought because of that event puked. And it looks like I'm likely to puke too. Like, I get it. They took it from that location, and when it comes back through it, they don't want to have it anymore. I got in it for a different reason, so Well, how much has ended up trading here now after all that? So we're just at 31. Oh, they did stop me at just at 3,100. It was 6,000. Still not tons of volume that we're getting, but well, now that they went and hit me out, they could go up again. I'm gonna put one in here, and I'm gonna go get some water and stuff. Right?
Gary Rich says the implied vols are off the charts crazy and I really enjoy it.
Sunday Driver says, how is it that front running is not illegal? I worked for a mutual fund company, fund accounting, for 10 years and it was very illegal.
Wow, they only just barely held the stop. How is it that front running is not illegal? I worked for a mutual fund company for 10 years and it was very illegal. So I'll explain to you why. In futures, you can have information that not everybody has. For instance, say you're a farmer and you know that your crop did really well that year, and then you're going to have way more corn to sell than you normally would. Then you could sell it on that information, and you would essentially be front running yourself, and it would be completely legal. I don't like the price that it gave me when I did that, but oh well. He's very much pumping. You notice that it's just like volume that comes in waves.
Abel Teckle says, what trade setups do you look for to enter in positions? Sorry, I am new lol. Gary Rich says, don't ask why is front running illegal, just accept it occurs and figure a way through it.
Yeah. So in terms of like what setups I take, I'm largely basing things off of, well, I don't give all the secrets away, but a lot of it just has to do with fundamentals, right? I know what's driving the market, and I know roughly where they're going to try and get to today. Their target's going to be around 31.16 and 31.30, right? We could get all the way up to here today. Totally possible. And one of the things that's pushing them is these virus cases numbers come out, and then the market overreacts to it, and then they buy the dip, right? And I know that that's going to happen based off of what was happening yesterday and what the fundamentals of it are. And then the rest of it is just timing and positioning, right? So I'm looking for a place where I saw
Sunday
sellers come
Driver
in.
says that isn't front running, as I know it. Front running is lining up trades for preferred clients before a fund buys in. Then, the client gets an immediate boost in profit due to activity that follows. Sunday Driver says it happens, but if the SEC finds it on your master trade blotter, then you are totally screwed.
I don't really think that sort of thing happens in futures so much as, but I digress. I'm looking for places where a seller probably has an entrenched position and they're likely to go through it. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to get in a place where I expect there to be momentum because somebody's getting stopped out. And that I have a good risk reward on a target. So it's kind of hard to find those spots. That's why, if you remember way, way earlier, I was saying on my initial trade that didn't work out, one of my initial trades that didn't work out, that I wasn't really too happy with where I got it from. It was because of that. It was because where I was targeting on like the short-term resistance was too close. Joe Biden says, Mr. President, wake up. Okay. Yeah, so the Texas numbers came out here. Hospitalizations rose 5.5% versus 11% a day ago. Was the other news. I don't think that the market necessarily was spiking up on that one, but could have been. Was not really the same as it was with the Florida cases, was it? So here's kind of like another good example. Is this bar right here, 31, starting from 3107, right? Ends up being a pretty good sell. If we were to just all of the sudden spike up above 3107, you'd be able to just take it. This one, I don't know. It's going okay. I mean, I got the initial momentum that I wanted, but it was kind of at the high, so you kind of run angling around, and it may or may not work out. But I at least want to get that, like I don't want to take very much heat on the initial move. That's what I've been shooting for, at least. this number the overnight? I think it is. The overnight open? Or yesterday's close?
Abel Teckle says, what do you mean by entrenched positions? Are you looking at the DOM to find entrenched positions?
Yeah, well, so like, I'm actually look at it on a chart. So, I mean, you can see it in the DOM too, because I'm also want to see volume from it. But take, for instance, this spot right here. So there was a high, but then here you see there was a kind of a small bar. And then there was a bar that they were actually went above and below that. And then from that bar, they continued down. So if you think about where from this move did most of the people end up going short, this was kind of the decision point where the sellers eventually overwhelmed them and pushed it down. So if I see that spot come back and get taken out, then there's a pretty good chance that they're going to go through it because you have a higher probability of trapped traders from here, right? It's kind of the same thing on the downside. If we were to get below this low at 30.95, then you could probably just straight up sell it. But you also kind of want to see, the volume and the way that it happened, of course. But you'll know it. You'll look at it and you say, okay, so something definitely happened there. They kind of turned, and then you'll look back over here and you say, okay, yeah, outside bar, that's the spot I look at. And I'm much more interested in when they're buying, when they're doing it through the upside. This trade, and it's been a long time. Like this one right here, 851 to 858. Okay. If it's been like 30 or 40 minutes and we go back and retrace something like that, then it's like really good. But only if it's a long. Doesn't seem to work the same way for shorts. Shorts tend to play out differently in the E-mini. Oops. Need to just minimize it back. Yeah, that last one was no good that I got stopped out on, especially since I got so much more favorable ticks. And maybe I need to work that out because I have a lot of trades where I had so much more favorable than not, but I wasn't able to take a profit, because I'm looking for a much bigger target. I guess another way of thinking about it would be like when you go in chat, look at the sort of things that other people are looking at. And you see that people seem to care about a certain spot, right? And they get in, and then later on, they come back through that spot. Okay, so we're getting okay uptrend. Donald Trump. These horrible and politically charged decisions coming out of the Supreme Court are shotgun blasts into the face of people that are proud to call themselves Republicans or conservatives. We need more justices or we will lose our Second Amendment and everything else. Vote Trump 2020. Because obviously we need to replace Justice Ginsburg with a really conservative judge, right? That's really kind of what it comes down to, doesn't it? Okay, Pelosi, we liked to end up in conference on political reform legislation. This is a signal that Democrats expect a negotiation between the House and Senate on a police overhaul bill. Clear sign that the Dems may let the Republicans get onto this bill. It's a good sign that we'll get a bill. A person familiar with the Trump-Xi meeting texts me this response to Bolton's claim that Trump pleaded with Xi to help him win re-election. Bolton made no complaints to anyone present at the time, nor to the Chief of Staff Mulvaney or White House's counsel afterwards. If he had any objections, he kept them to himself, that is, until his book came out. The market actually did react when that headline about Bolton hit yesterday. They sold a little bit on it. I suppose that it's because the book does not help Donald Trump's re-election chances, but OPEC makes no recommendations to extend record oil cuts into August. Is the oil moving? Oh, you know what? I probably need to roll it over. Maybe that's why I wasn't getting it yesterday. No? Oh, it does load now. It does look like oil is moving up generally today. It's up almost $1. They're towards the high of the day in oil. Pulling back a little bit, though. I know everything looks good for me on the longs, but I'm just not. It's just not running yet. And the chances of it coming down and stopping me out are, probably a wash. But the upside profit potential, I think, is good. And I still think that the general news setup favors me. So it is 9/11. So I guess timing wise, we've got the European close coming in 20 minutes. And this could be something where it kind of moves sideways to down, and then when the European session ends, then we move up. Now they're all picking up on what Donald Trump just said. Trump calls U.S. Supreme Court decisions horrible and politically charged. The first official change to social distancing guidelines in the UK. Social distancing of 1 meter as opposed to the usual 2 meters is safe and appropriate for children and young people. Let's go. Okay. That's the big change, huh?
Ace Trades says what happened at 8:33. Gary Rich says Seth show them those examples of high, low raids and targeted liquidity area I sent you. Maybe they will understand. Ace Trades says also, so tired of the mystery of Ninjatrader Workspaces.
Okay, so at 8:30, Florida coronavirus cases came out and it was bad. But the market doesn't care about the number of cases increasing because they've pretty much straight up said that they're not going to shut things down again. So that's why you get this, like, the robots come in and sell it because it always reacts to that, but then it almost immediately reverses. Like, they bought the dip. So that's what happened at 8:30. For Ninjatrader Workspaces, the way that it works is you set up a workspace, and that's the thing. And then if you switch workspaces, then your current workspace, everything minimizes or like disappears, and then everything from that new workspace shows up. But all of the things from the previous workspace is still open, you just can't see it. So those indicators and everything are still running. So if you have like two workspaces full of a ton of stuff, they're all running and using resources. So I usually only have one resource open. And one of the things that I do is I have a one workspace that is nothing and one that is internals. So that if I have a problem with this workspace, I can close this one. And when nothing opens up, it's not loading a bunch of other stuff. It's just nothing. That's how I do the workspacing. And only have one workspace open. Kellyanne Conway, the woke joke party, nominated Joe Biden for whatever reason. That's their problem, right? They had picked almost anyone else. I think that it would be a lock for them to beat Donald Trump at the moment. Like if Kamala Harris was the nominee, I think that they would be on a good track. But because they chose Joe Biden, okay, this is a little bit of selling there at 3108. Oh yeah, so Rich was saying show them those pictures. Because that is an okay example. I thought that those first ones that you posted were the best ones. Maybe this one, original. So this is a little bit of a slightly different sort of a thing. Here, they've found support and resistance, and you'll notice that they'll punch through the support or resistance, and then fail breakout, right? Because what is happening, especially, you've got two spots, right? There's the people that went long on the breakout, but then there's also the people that went long right here, right? Where there's kind of like these, uh, you know, there's this bar that's kind of big, and then after that, that was like the decision point, and then they moved up higher. So when they come down below that, back to that decision point, what happens? Good dish. They really push down because those guys are getting stopped out. Essentially, you're identifying locations where there's likely to be people that are going to be really upset that that passed. That's where the stops are going to be. It's very situational, though. Like, that's why I'm like, I use that as kind of like a, if I'm going to get in, I want a little bit of momentum with me, and you can take that spot and get it, right? But the reason why I'm taking a trade usually has more to do with my reading of the news and sentiment and timing. There are certain times of day that I know the way that the market action works that are better to get in. For instance, from about 10:15 to 10:45, there's usually a counter trend time period where action tends to be rough. Now with that picture, the one that I always have a hard time with is, I'll draw some pictures, make them black. You know, I'm always like, here's this line. Oh, they broke it before. Now they're gonna go through it. Okay, and they broke it. And then there's kind of like decision point again, right? One thing is it comes down, it does this, right? But then the other one is that it comes down and it bounces off of support and it goes higher, right? Both of these look familiar, don't they? Right? But this is where technical analysis will screw you up, is because when you look at it, you actually kind of know the scenarios, right? So which one is it going to do? Is there, like, based off of X thing, is there a greater probability of this one happening versus this one happening? Like, how strong is this resistance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Well, my theory is you want to know why. Okay. This right here. Why? Why are people selling there? Why that price? And if there's every reason for that price to still matter, then probably this scenario is going to happen. But if the situation has changed and then this doesn't, then why should that matter anymore? Or if I don't know, or if I thought that the reason that it bounced there in the first place, it was kind of silly, then why shouldn't they be able to go through it, right? I'm not using the technical analysis to determine what's going to happen. I'm trying to use the fundamental analysis to determine what's going to happen. Use the fundamental analysis and then see if I see some technicals that kind of support it. I'm getting a little bit of a run in the tick there that fizzled out. And they're still having trouble at yesterday's close, by the way.
Ace Trades says good, let them die in Florida. I'm fine with sawing it off and pushing it out into the ocean.
Oh, I forgot that
Ace Trades says but when I change things around, then save it as a new workspace, it all disappears. Ace Trade.
Wait. You know what? I don't ever do that. So what I do is, like, I move things around and change it. And then when I close the application down, it will say, do you want to save workspace? And I say yes. And then that's it. And if something happens, if like Ninjatrader somehow crashes, then yeah. Ninjatrader crashes, then it will disappear. Those changes that you made won't be in there. So always save it on closing, because that ensures that I don't save something in the workspace that is corrupt. That makes sense. Well, maybe I should be looking for the ATR as an entry instead. Because if they're going to continue up, this is like the spot to buy it. So the way that I've been taking it seems to work way better when it's like really trending. USD JPY tests hive today. Treasuries still just in the middle of their range. Okay. So we just had one of those spots just happen there on a short time frame. Did you see that there was some stops down here, and then when they pushed up, they pushed back through where the stops originated from? Trump says China may have encouraged coronavirus spread, says Wall Street Journal. Hmm. Okay. So they seem to like that turn. Well, despite that strong up move, it's still relatively mild. Make sure to back up your workspaces templates weekly just in case. Yeah, NinjaTrader does back them up, but I'm starting to think that that might not be. I'm starting to get into like if you get one that was really hard to set up and everything to like just like save a copy of it and move it into a different folder. I always like to get my medical info from someone in the entertainment world. It really sucks when you have to read. Yeah, it does. Oh, it totally does. Hmm. So we're getting this twisty turny action now. So this looks like stirring the pot to me. Back up to an external hard drive. But when you change things around and want to save it as a new workspace, don't you click the new button? So when you want to make a new workspace, you just come in to the one that you have and you say save as and then change the name. Because if you click new, it's just going to make a new blank workspace. Mm. This around with 3104 kind of just looks like algorithms to me, to be honest. I'd vote for Kamala for president, but we don't share ovaries, so I'm not woke enough. What? I should have put that one tick higher. I'm moving to the chop formerly known as Chaz. I hear lots of single ladies who shower. That's what Gary looks for in a woman. Do you shower? You know what? My wife doesn't shower every day. I shower like twice a day, and she showers like every other day. And I was like, what? I thought that all women showered every day. Having a tough time deciding between Kamala and Klobuchar. Oh gosh. I think that Amy would probably be the worst pick that Biden could make. So that's who he should pick for sure. Well, that did not work out at all. They are just in a tight range here, chopping around, screwing around with us. Maybe the larger players have gotten bored and don't really care to move it around much more. I don't know. A lot of this action looks like robots to me. Like not a ton of volume really trading it, just kind of like they're just kind of hitting back and forth and it happens to tick up or tick down. Chaz reminds me of the last days of the Occupy Wall Street. Oh, it's 100% the same thing. It's like all of the young communists feel like they missed out on Occupy Wall Street, so they wanted to have their own. That's what it is. In the Chaz. They're like, nope, we can't. We can't move up yet. Seth is long. Well, I kind of want to wait and see this resolve itself, but we should just realize that this is like a crapshoot that I'm doing right here. I screwed up on adding those contracts there. They didn't actually break it. I enjoy wrestling with female betters, especially bushy armpits. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's the end of that. I really do think that in the end this is going to resolve up, but this is exactly like bad action, which as the movement that we've had today, it turning into bad action down here is really weird. No, that's not going to work. Warmth in the winter? What? You guys. You know what else? The 9:30 close was not very eventful. Okay, well, you know what? I think it's time for me to shut this down. Obviously, I did kind of say it would be a tough day, right? So, did not work out. We had a one good trade though. I had just taken the profits on that one good one, and then I could have stayed out. Obviously, I think I would have still tried trading this other stuff, but because I really expected it to continue to be a good trend up into 31.16. I don't know. Maybe they turn back down and cross the open, and that's open's really far down there. I think that they're just having a hard time pulling it out, and eventually they will get enough of them short they can go and push the highs, but who knows what it's going to take to make that happen. And in the meantime, we are getting pretty bad downtrend, so I don't know. Anyways, tomorrow better. Next week is maybe after the options expiration, we can move on, can see the next iteration of stuff. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for stopping by, and stay profitable.